Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction video for a new series I'll be starting for the game Space Quest 1 Sarian Encounter. Space Quest 1 will have a config and tech video following the introduction video. There will not be a modding video as this game has no mods. This video will most likely serve the future Space Quest games that I play as their introduction video as well. This game was developed by Sierra Online. I'll put a link in the description to the Wikipedia for Sierra. Sierra was an American developer and publisher based in California, USA. They were founded in 1979 by Ken and Roberta Williams. The company is known for pioneering the graphic adventure game genre. Sierra is known for games such as Space Quest, King's Quest, and Police Quest. They were also the original publisher of Valve's Half-Life 1 series. In 2023, under the company name Cygnus Entertainment, Ken and Roberta Williams released a new game titled Colossal Cave. It is a modern remake of a text-based adventure game from 1976. I have not played the original or the remake yet myself, but I plan to on the channel. I'll also put a link in the description to the wiki about that game. Roberta Williams was in charge of the King's Quest games, while a duo going by the name The Two Guys from Andromeda, Mark Crow and Scott Murphy. They were in charge of the Space Quest games. And I'll also put some links to their website and to their individual information on Wikipedia. The King's Quest games were more, fairy tale kings and queens and things like that, where Space Quest was more comedic and silly. As I am older now and looking back at these games, I kind of feel like the King's Quest games were intended for a female audience, while the Space Quest games were more for a male audience. I personally like both series, but favor the Space Quest games. Sierra made a lasting impression on me as a gamer and on the gaming industry as a whole. So I have a little story here, labeled it My Sierra Story / First PC / Memories. So this is about the computer that I played these on and just what I remember about playing them when they came out new. Space Quest 2 from 1987 was one of the first games I remember playing. The other being probably Super Mario Bros. From 1985 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. My dad bought me a Tandy Model 1000 computer from Radio Shack, and I'll put a link in the description to the Wikipedia about the Tandy 1000. My understanding now is that the Tandy 1000 was the second generation of home IBM compatible PCs. They were released from 1984 to 1993 and only at Radio Shack. The starting price was $1,200. In 2022, that would be around $3,380. That costs almost twice as much as my modern gaming PC that I'm using right now, which is crazy. The OS or operating system on the Tandy 1000 was MS-DOS, or Microsoft Disk Operating System. I remember it had a 5 1/4 floppy disk drive, and I also remember using 3 1/2 floppy disks. I don't remember the exact sub-model of the PC. My Tandy 1000 may have had some extra bells and whistles. The floppy disks were tedious and would go like this. Space Quest 2, I think, came on 2 3 1/2 discs, one being an install disc and the other being the play disc. So you would need to install the game from one disc. Then, when you wanted to play, you needed to insert the play disc. The more complex the game, the more play discs you would have. If you went back and forth between areas in the game that needed a previous disc, you would be prompted to switch to the correct disc. When you wanted to save your game, you had to have an extra formatted save disk, so another 3.5 disk. You'd have to eject the play disk, put in the save disk, and save your game. Then take the save disk out and put the play disk back in. Having to wait for load times and needing to know a handful of MS-DOS commands. The earlier Sierra games didn't utilize mouse controls. You could move your character around with the arrow keys. You typed in commands to perform actions in the game, more like a text adventure but with graphics. I also think Sierra, as well as the original Doom on PC, those games are what made me get used to using the arrow keys when I play PC games nowadays, as opposed to using WASD or the WASD that most 99.9% I guess PC gamers use today. I've never used those keys. I always use the arrow keys. And my other function keys for the game, I utilize those with the number pad. So my left hand is utilizing the arrow keys and the number pad, while my right hand is using the mouse, of course. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in, that these old Sierra games are part of the reason why I've adapted myself to the arrow keys and never stopped using them. So the Tandy 1000 had a built-in PC speaker. I assume it was mono sound, so it had all those cool bleeps and bloops from those old games. The second Sierra game I remember playing was King's Quest IV: The Perils of Rosella from 1988. Throughout the years, I would remember it as being The Pearls of Rosella. I remember my dad even messing around a little with the Space Quest games with me. You could get stuck for weeks or months on a puzzle solution in these games. So much so that Sierra offered what they called hint books. They were little white books and probably cost like $9.99 at the time per game, somewhere around there. Maybe $7.99 or something silly, but somewhere between $5.99 and $9.99. And on the website spacequest.net, which is like an unofficial fan-made source for Space Quest, I'll link in the description, as he has a section on there that actually shows what those hint books used to look like and how they functioned. So I want you guys to be able to see those, as I don't have my books anymore, obviously. They would be separated by area of the game you were in. It would say something like, how do I get the small mirror shining at the bottom of the lake? There would be a blank square space under the question. He would use a special colored film on cardboard to see the hint. Sort of like old school 3D glasses used to be. You'd use something like that you would look through, and then you could see the solution. Sometimes the books, though, would use a special ink pen to reveal the hint. So you would ink over this big white square box and it would reveal the text. My dad would also buy these for me. I remember he wouldn't leave them with me, though. He would either hide it or take it with him. I imagine he probably took them with him or just left them in his truck or something. So I couldn't just cheat the whole game. Not that I tried, but I probably would have. So I have strong attachments to the Sierra games from a gaming standpoint. Also has some good memories with my dad, as he didn't like gaming much himself. He had a passing interest in Microsoft Flight Simulator, like the 1998 version. I wish he could see the modern Flight Simulator games today, like Microsoft Flight Simulator X or whatever the latest thing is. Anytime games were talked about, my dad just referred to them all as Donkey Kong. So a little about the game. These are classic PC games for those old enough to have played them. Cutting edge game design at the time, but not perfect. Sierra was learning as they improved with each game. They could be very difficult, unforgiving, and even tedious at times. a real test of problem-solving skills and patience. Sierra games pride themselves on killing you in dozens and dozens of ways, as well as making fun of you for failing. Some of the early Sierra games could put you in a soft locked state. For instance, you might need a certain item later in the game. If you missed finding it, you might not be able to go back and get it, meaning you would have to load a previous save to get it. This is if you had said save to even load. So in a lot of cases back then, if that happened to you, you would just start from the very beginning, because these games were, once you learned what to do, you could get through them very quickly. So they were, in a lot of cases, they could be played that way, and I'm sure a lot of people did it that way. The real pro gamer tip for Sierra games is save, and save often. You could die at any moment on any screen. You could save anytime you want in these games. So it's best to create a bunch of unique saves. Don't say I didn't warn you. The classics use a text parser to interact with the world, or to make your character do something. Things such as look around, pick up rock, or talk to man. These actions either make something graphically happen on the screen, like an animation. The game may also just respond with a text explanation. As more games were released and Sierra got better at their craft, the later Space Quest and King's Quest games became point-and-click oriented, helping popularize yet another genre of gaming. Most point-and-click style games these days fall into the hidden object genre of games. While I don't have any issues with hidden object games, I actually like them. They are a far cry from what was once the point-and-click genre of the 90s. The classic Sierra games may not be for everybody, but still an important part of history in gaming. The Space Quest 1 version we will be playing is the EGA, or Enhanced Graphics Adapter version. We'll also play the VGA, or Video Graphics Array version, which is a remake at a later time. A little more information here. So as I've already mentioned, a great website for all things Space Quest is spacequest.net. I'll put a link in the description. And also, if you want to learn all things Sierra, and definitely all things Space Quest, check out the Space Quest historian over at his channel. This guy is a wealth of knowledge and an all-around cool fellow. And I will link to his channel in the description as well. The genre this game falls into is text, graphic, comedic, satire, sci-fi, adventure. That's what I would call it. So there's a lot going on in this game. And I'll go over the releases here, at least the official ones. And I started doing a new thing here when I do this segment of the introduction videos for these games. When I cover the game releases, I'm trying to throw a image up of the box art of the game as I'm naming them off, so you can see what the box art look like. So the first game is Space Quest 1, the Sarian Encounter from 1986. It's the original, the EGA, the one that we're going to be starting with. I don't have the remake listed here, but the Sierra made a remake of the game, which is, you know, better, I guess, overall. But I want to cover the original. We will play the remake later. And then the second game was Space Quest 2, Volhal's Revenge from 1987. The third game is Space Quest 3, Pirates of Pestrelon from 1989. Space Quest 4, The Time Rippers from 1991. Space Quest 5, The Next Mutation, 1993. And then the final mainline Space Quest game, Space Quest 6, The Spinal Frontier from 1995. the last 3 games, pretty sure all 3 of those being CD-based games and point-and-click oriented with spoken dialogue. I think all 3 of those had spoken dialogue. And better music as well. So there were 6 official games, if you include the official remake of the first game, then 7. And then there's been other fan-made sequels and remakes made that I would like to play later. Yeah, so there are also some official and unofficial remakes and sequels I'd like to play on this channel after we get the mainline games completed. According to How Long to Beat, this game will take about 2 to 4 hours to complete. That's considering you know what you're doing. It's probably going to take me a lot longer than that, just because I'm going to be explaining a lot of stuff and taking my time. And it's been a long while since I have played any of these games, really. So I'm not freshly brushed up on what to do. I am going to be referencing guides for these games. I'll link in the description of the first gameplay video, just as a reference. I'm going to try to, play it like a normal person would play it, but I don't want to get stuck forever. So I will have a guide. Anything else that I can think of? There's a lot of situations in these old Sierra games where you can soft lock yourself, causing yourself, you may be able to get all the way to close to the very end of the game, but if you missed an item that you can't go back and get, then you can't beat the game. I don't know what all of these situations are going to be. I just know that the original Space Quests, original King's Quest, those games had situations. I'm going to try to look up the information beforehand, but I don't know of an actual source online that lists all the ways you can accidentally soft lock yourself. So the guide is going to be used not so I can just cheat my whole way through the games, but so I don't stay stuck and so I don't run into a situation where I soft lock. And I'm also going to be trying to make, OCD saves all the time, which I can do quick saves and hard saves and all that. So, and there's no mods for any of these games. They're so old. No modding. So in the next video, we'll be getting into the configuration and technical side of things. I'll record the desktop of my PC like I always do. Folder view on one side and my notes on what to adjust on the other side of the screen. We'll just walk through the process one thing at a time. So thank you for watching this video, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.